Welcome to Navigating Now, real talk for rocky times. A Pete the Planner CalmCast.
Good Thursday to you. Welcome to Navigating Now, keeping your head straight during wild things. That's not what it's called, but that's what we're doing. It's April 24th. It's Thursday. As you know, every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we gather for 10 minutes just to see what's going on in the economy and the markets during these really wild financial times. Before we get going on the real show, which today we're going to talk about wage growth, we're going to talk about earnings season, and we're going to talk about paying yourself first. Those are the topics for today. But of course, two quick things before we get started. Number one, of course, this 10 minutes is dedicated to anyone who wants to be part of this. But if you are certainly covered by your money line through your employer as an employee benefit, anything we talk about today, if you want some help working through, just give us a call, log into your account, live chat with us, whatever. We'll take care of you. Second thing, so two very significant things happened since we last got together on Tuesday. Both of those things involved President Trump, and both of those things involved him, I'm going to say, backing down, not from a judgmental standpoint, but more of backing away from previous statements. How about that? That's a good way to say it. He sort of assured the public that he's not going to fire Jerome Powell, who's the chairman of the Fed, and that really calmed the markets down. As we talked about last time, if that were to happen, chaos would ensue. I mean, absolute economic and market chaos would ensue. And so when he said, okay, everyone calm down, I'm not going to do that, everyone stopped freaking out a little bit. And then the other thing that President Trump did is he said, he didn't exactly say a deal with China is imminent, but he expects them to not have that high of tariffs. It's a temporary thing, which also calmed everyone down. And the markets have been broadly up since then. Also, why markets are up, because it's earnings season. Earnings season is when publicly traded companies report on how they did the previous quarter. It usually takes about a month or so for the finance and accounting teams of these publicly traded companies to calculate, revenue and expenses and profit and all of those things. And then they come into the marketplace on what is called an earnings call, which you can actually listen to if you wanted to. And you're thinking, why would I want to do that? Maybe you're having trouble sleeping. I don't know, but you can get on an earnings call and you can hear how these publicly traded companies did the last quarter. And so prior to that quarter, there was a forecast, and then analysts within the marketplace, people that follow these companies and try to predict how they're going to do, they set about these expectations. And so in the earnings call, what you find out is, plain and simple, did the company meet its goals in the previous quarter? If you work at a small company, it's not terribly different than that. Then on the earnings call, and this is where the rubber hits the road today in this current economy, they talk about their forecast for not only the next quarter, but generally the rest of the fiscal year. Well, the last few earnings calls from major airlines have basically said, hey, yeah, we're not going to grow that much this year as much as we previously thought. We're probably going to cut back on our expenses, probably cut back on our hiring plans, probably cut back on a lot of capital expenditures. And so when you hear these things of these publicly traded companies with a lot of resources, forethought, and knowledge saying, okay, yeah, we're planning that things are not going to be great, then you start to think, okay, what will that do to wages? Which brings us to our second topic of the day, wage growth. You and I talk about this in a couple different ways. We talk about, do you get a raise, right? Did you get a raise? Did you get a cost of living adjustment, sometimes called COLA? And all those are called nominal wage increases. Okay, so nominal. Let's say you got a 3% raise, then the nominal wage rate increase for you is 3%. But what I want to talk about is something, it doesn't sound like a technical term, but it actually is a technical term, and it's real wage growth. Real. It's like, is that fake? No, it's real. That's the technical term. Real wage growth means, how did your nominal wage increase compare to the inflation rate? You've just got done living this for the last 5 years. I'm going to explain it to you, but you already know how this works. If you get a 3% raise and your household inflation rate based on the things you buy as a consumer is 11%, then your wage growth theoretically is negative 8%. Your real wage growth is real wage contraction. That means you have less buying power because your nominal wage increase did not outpace the inflation rate. Okay, so why do I bring this up? Well, in order for to have a real wage increase, two things have to be true. Number one, your nominal wage has to increase. And we're going to talk about in just a moment why that might happen and why that often does happen. The second thing that has to happen is that the inflation rate needs to stay in check. Okay, let's start there. Right now, as we go, inflation's okay, right? It's fine. It's fine. There are concerns with the tariffs that inflation will not be fine within the next couple of quarters. I'm not even calling that a prediction. Let's just call that we're accounting for that could be a possibility. It's not for me to go on here and go, there's going to be inflation. I don't operate that way. I don't actually feel that way. I think you need to consider that it could very well happen, though. Okay, so that's to say, if you were scheduled to get a 3% raise this year and inflation ticks up to 5%, which I don't think would be out of the question, then you've got a nominal wage or a real wage decrease right there. You got a negative 2%. Got it? So what dictates your wages going up? Number one, tight labor markets. Okay, so that is to say there's not enough workers to fill the jobs that are out there. Now, that is true in some industries, absolutely true. And the unemployment rate's not terrible right now. It's actually a pretty good place. However, going back to these earnings reports, if companies are saying we will not grow and we're not going to hire as many people, and we are likely to actually lay off some people, then that is the opposite of a tight labor market. So you're not likely going to see wage growth because of that. Productivity gains, potentially. If a company gets more productive because they make investments in technology or AI or things like that, it's possible they pass those gains on to the humans that are working there. If minimum wage laws change, you absolutely will see a nominal wage increase. However, I wouldn't count on that anytime soon. If the unions have a particular amount of power and bargaining leverage right now, then you can see wage increases in that regard. I don't get a sense that we're in that environment right now. Again, not a prediction, just a sense we're not there. And then corporate profits. If corporate profits are so good that they not only return money to the shareholders, but they also pass those monies on to the people that work there, then you could see wage growth. So let me distill all this down for you. We had a lot of real wage growth early COVID, before the inflation kicked in. Okay, so and then since then it's sort of been flat. I'm suggesting on this call, you're not going to see a lot of wage increases, a lot of real wage increases this year because of the economic conditions that are going on right now. On top of that, the final concept in the last 50 seconds. That's why I always want you to pay yourself first. That means before you pay a single bill, before you spend a single dollar on tacos or whatever you buy, move money to savings first. Pay yourself first. Why? Well, in this example today, if we don't think there's going to be real wage growth, you need to account for a more expensive life in another way, and paying yourself is the way to do it. Man, I love it when a plan comes together, even if it's not the greatest news. But do you see how it all fits? These are the things we talk about on Navigating Now. We do this Tuesdays. We do this Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. If you missed any of the show, just subscribe to the Pete the Planner podcast. Smash that like button, as the kids say. That's it for now. Thanks for being here. If you have any questions, let us know. Have a great rest of your week.